Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the negatives, bro. Let's talk about the negatives to gig apps. Because there's not a lot of talk about it. You know, you see the glitz and glamour. You see when everybody having their good days, when they're making money, etc., etc. But let's talk about the CEOs. Let's talk about why certain apps are crashing the way that they do. You know, from, falling from grace. So, the big one of this year was Spark. At least me personally, I felt like the biggest one was Spark. Apparently, like I said, if you see in my previous videos, I got accepted to Spark on or around September 2025. It was nice, it was decent. I didn't really see the decline as much as everybody was talking about. There's people that have been on that app for like apparently 5, maybe 6, 10 years. I don't know. I'm just now hearing about the app last year, really. And so what I've noticed is that the base pay change, they got lowered. They withhold tips. A lot of customers even now ask us, like, do we get the tips? And that's even on every other app, but we're just talking about Spark right now for a split second. Now, tips being withheld, then you have customers who tip bait, which means that they got 24 hours to change their tip. And that's the same as Instacart too, as well. They have 24 hours to change their tip. So you could see something that would be like $50. And you'd be like, oh, that's good. Less miles and, things of that nature. That's good. Cool. But when you take it, chances are you may not even get that tip because the customer can go back within 24 hours and change that entire tip. And they can either zero that tip out or just leave you like $1, $3 or whatever. That's the truth. And then Walmart, the Spark app, they skim off that tip. Remember, what they see on their screen is different from what we see on our screen. It's not all the same. Now, starting there, how everything started declining, and it drastically declined like so quickly, bro. Like I even noticed within my time. Now we're here June 2026 now. And as I said, I started around September, October-ish, around the holiday of 2025. Now, I've noticed the decline crazy. And it all makes sense to me now because before, when I used to do Instacart is trash. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It is straight garbage. Like, at least in my area, I'm not speaking for everybody, but I noticed something with that one as well. Customers have time to change their tip. They could tip bait you. You think you're gonna get this amount of pay and then they just take it away. I had it done to me before. And genuinely, I didn't even like it because the base pay is straight trash. The base pay is probably like $2, maybe $4. And it was like the work that I did and going to get it, shop for it, and then just to have it taken away is crazy. But, it is what it is. You got to take your losses when it comes to this. So, but there's not so many losses that people are going to keep taking and think that it's going to be cool. So I feel like people should speak up on it more and should post about it more because especially these CEOs are very, 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 very greedy. Very greedy. Now, the Spark app and how much it declines so quickly, that's what I'm really surprised about and shocked about, how much it declined. And the reason for that is the CEO of Instacart is now the CEO of Spark. And I don't know what it is specifically about this guy, or maybe he just don't understand how businesses really run, because I feel like they put people in these seats that don't know how to run a business and are greedy, because there's a lot of things that don't make sense in the policies and a lot of things that they get away with that don't make sense in the policies. And it makes sense now. I see why Spark is the way it is. The same way that Instacart was ran into the ground is the same way that Spark is being ran into the ground. And it's the same CEO. Now, speaking on other apps, DoorDash, Uber been on a decline for a little minute. Like, I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like they're on a slow decline. Only because I did take a break from it. And I still feel like you could make some sort of money. But unfortunately, when it comes to Uber Eats, though, like, the fact that I feel like they should put like a radius on how far a delivery driver should be able to go. Because there's orders that I get on Uber Eats where it's like, dude, it'll be like $2-4 and the joint would be like 16 miles away, or maybe $10 and it comes with multiple deliveries, and the mileage is crazy how far you have to go. And as I sit here and think, I'm like, bro, this is not fair to a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? That actually are dependent on making their money. And I know a lot of people say, well, get a real job. It is a job. Shut up. It is a job. They make money. People used to be able to make money, pay bills, go on vacation, and do whatever it is with their family and stuff before these corporations got greedy. And it's the same for DoorDash. DoorDash is the same. Yep. They skim tips off the top. When you're shopping, or whether you're going to pick up a order. Now, customers don't have the option to change their tip. They have an option to give a tip in the beginning, whether it could be 4%, 5%, whatever percentage that they offer. But they don't have that same 24-hour window to change their tip as everybody else, as other apps do. So whatever you get is what you get. But it does not mean that the company is not skimming those tips off the top. Again, our screens is different from their screens. You feel what I'm saying? And honestly, it's just a slow decline for a lot of these apps, but it's a quick decline for a lot of these apps as well. And the same for Roadie. Much as you see me on these apps and much as you see me working, it's a hustle. You know what I'm saying? So you have to hustle. As I always say, none of this stuff is guaranteed whatsoever. Like, you could come out here, have a $200 a day, $300 a day, whatever, however long you out here, depending on your lifestyle, if you got a family, priorities, or whatever. And then you could come right outside and you can, the next day, you can make $50. So nothing is guaranteed. It's a genuine hustle. However, it's the same thing with Roadie. You know, I tell people, dude, the mileage and the pay don't add up at all. There's instances where you could be getting paid like $10 on something, but it's like 13 or 14 miles away. You feel what I'm saying? So you don't make no real money off that. And yes, you do put more wear and tear on your vehicle. But again, as I said, for people, this is a hustle, and you have to be smart on which orders you take. You have to learn how to line up your routes. And now this is specifically speaking for like Roadie and Curry and stuff like that, those type of apps. Now, when it comes to Uber Eats, you can't specifically plan your route. The only thing you can plan is like how far you're willing to go and how many miles it's going to take for you to go back. And that's the same for DoorDash. DoorDash, there's not a set like, you know, there's a beginning and an end. You don't really plan your route where you're going to stop, because you don't know where you're going until you get these orders for the most part, you know. And it's the same thing. Instacart, you're able to see where you're going and you can plan your route, but the orders are not always guaranteed, especially if there's not a lot of stores in your area. So those are like my issues that I've noticed with the apps, you know, and the rapid decline in them. And honestly, I don't blame people for complaining about them and feeling the way that they are feeling, you know. And the same thing on top of the fact that, you know, customers do tip bait. You know, again, to explain that, that means that if you hypothetically get an order for like $16 and it's probably like 6 miles away, and it says you, on top of this base pay, you will get an additional $5 or $6 or $10 tip. And then once you complete the order and then you realize that the next day, because it takes 24 hours for the tips to come in, which I wish they really changed that model. But you see the next day that you only probably get maybe $8 for the whole entire trip. And then you like, dude, where's the other 8? You got to remember, they tip baited. They got 24 hours to change it. Then also the app does typically, you know, whether they think we know it or not, they do. So yeah, as I was saying, my phone overheated and got kind of threw my whole thought process off. But you know, long story short, man, that's pretty much what's going on, what's happening at the moment, you know, with a lot of these apps.